Finally, after years of waiting, the Russia rework is here. And more importantly, it's actually kinda good. The lore was changed a bit, so I'll quickly summarize. Kerensky no longer gets assassinated at the start. Instead, he sits exiled in New York City watching Russia go on without him. The new starting leader is Boris Savinkov. Russia, after losing the First World War, has been on quite the downturn. And Savinkov has been elected to finally turn it around in 1934. Although you could say that he didn't win that election through the most democratic of ways. Now that he's in charge, Russia is slipping back to authoritarianism. So in 1936, the young Russian Republic is at a crossroads on what to do. By the way, I'm so close to 100,000 subs right now, so please subscribe. If y'all get me to 100,000 subs, I will do a mega campaign from CK3 to EU4 to Vic3 to HOI4. Anyway, the Russian focus tree has been reworked, and Russia is still a good sandbox nation since it has content for ideologies across the political spectrum, so I can definitely see myself coming back to this focus tree. As you know, Russian democracy starts in a bad place, but it goes from bad to worse with the assassination of Savinkov's main opposition leader, Viktor Chernov. Without him, all the political opposition to Savinkov's agenda in the government falls apart, along with everyone's money, since Black Monday follows right after that. There is chaos across Russia in response to his death, and people are gonna want answers. Someone like Chernov doesn't die like that unless somebody wants it to happen. Upon further investigation, the assassin wasn't just some nobody, but had relatives high up in the military. Also, very convenient that a bunch of guards had their positions reshuffled that night. The evidence pointed upwards, to the top of the military, to a man named Lav Kornilov. Savinkov told Kornilov that he needed to come to the Kremlin for a meeting with the War Ministry, but it was obvious to him what this meeting really was. He gathered his most loyal men to attempt a last-minute coup to save his life, but sadly for Kornilov, that didn't work out for him. For Savinkov, the main roadblocks had been cleared. He could go through with his agenda, and as long as he didn't make new people mad, his presidency was secure. Now I work towards making the masses happy by fixing the economy and reforming land policies. I can't just look internally. There are things happening around us, like the Baltic state blowing itself up and giving us room to expand our influence. Economic recovery is pretty straightforward as Russia. No mini games like Germany, just a decision section where you have a manpower pool that you can use to do construction projects across the country. In the Far East, the mad Baron Sternberg got thrown out of Mongolia, so I decided to let him and his boys back in the army. Despite this regime's hatred of all flavors of leftism, we still hate Germany more. So we sit down with the Union of Britain and Commune of France to work out some deals. And as a show of good faith, I sit out the Spanish Civil War. In March 1937, Savinkov's land reform is all done, and despite the pains in implementing it, it's paying off really well. Although I said I'd be neutral in Spain, nothing was said about America, so I jumped in their civil war. Along with the Balkan War, cause we needed to knock Bulgaria down. A concerning report surfaced. Apparently, after Kornilov's death, the military did their own investigation, finding out that Savinkov was much more involved in Chernov's death than the official story stated. The evidence seems to suggest that Kornilov was the fall guy for Savinkov's plan, but considering that this is the wrong conclusion, this evidence had to be thrown out. I want to make sure the narrative is clear to everyone, so here's what actually happened. Kornilov was getting jealous about Savinkov gaining so much power thanks to his help, and he wanted to put an end to the monster he created. So he sat down with Chernov to make a plan to overthrow Savinkov, but that meeting didn't go well at all because Chernov wasn't about this blatant power grab. Panicking about his conspiracy being discovered, he organized the assassination of Chernov to save it, but the government wasn't buying his cover story.
You left-wing leaning parasite. You expect me to sit here and listen to your drivel?
Leading to his last-ditch coup attempt and death. This is exactly what happened, and no, I will not be taking questions. My light tank volunteers were doing great against Bulgaria. Their soldiers probably never seen a tank before, so I was easily overrunning their lines and carrying the Balkan Pact to victory. I also started the next stage of Russia's economic development, ending the villainous agreement. Germany took advantage of Russia's poor economy in the 1920s to enrich themselves at our expense. And now it was time to get our economic freedom. So I have a new decision category that allows me to reduce the German influence in my economy. And once it's low enough, we can default on any debt we owe them and be fine. As much as I'm trying to win this war for the Balkan Pact, they seem really dedicated to lose it. Sofia isn't that far away from me, but Bulgaria could kill Serbia at any time, but for some reason they have mercy and stop outside their capital. They actually stood there for so long I was able to send volunteers to Serbia to protect them, and with my tank division sitting in Sofia, the Bulgarians were forced to give up. Since I successfully helped the Balkan Pact win, I have enough power projection to start doing some international propaganda. Hey guys, we beat a third-rate power as a major nation. Please make little Dark Age edits about us. Things are looking real sketch in Central Asia. The Kazakhs are getting upset about Russian settlers in their lands, and it looks like things are gonna get violent. So we just gotta double down on the policy. It doesn't help that our one ally in the region, Bukhara, starts getting jumped by his neighbors. Also, German capitalists try to recover their influence in my economy with a tempting offer, but I'm turning down their money. At this point, it's obvious to every German businessman what's gonna happen soon, so they grab all the money they can in Russia and run. Our guy in Bukhara is definitely not a military genius, and there's not much I can do to help. Anti-Russian sentiment grows to a level where people in our own country feel comfortable seceding, and not gonna lie, this rebellion turned out to be way larger than I thought it'd be. So doubling down on mistreating the Kazakhs didn't work, and now we have to go to plan B, which is to kill them with hammers. Fighting here is not cool since it's a lot of wasteland, but it's not like I have a shortage of men to deal with the rebels. I got the Cossacks racing through the desert to meet up with the Bukharan forces, who I sadly couldn't save from their own incompetence, leading to their capitulation. Fortunately, they don't affect the outcome of the war. The ill-equipped armies here can't fight well against my overwhelming numbers, so I reassert Russian influence over Central Asia, and I'm just gonna directly annex everything. After a year of chipping away at German businesses, I can finally default on their debt. The Germans had an expected reaction and hit me with some nasty sanctions, but I could avoid the worst if I agreed to a little bit of compensation, so I did that. Russia needed the city of Petrograd to be safe, and that's pretty hard with Finland standing next to it menacingly, so Russian High Command thought maybe with Germany down on its luck at the moment, we can do an aggressive reconnaissance operation against Finland. I greenlit it, but I did not realize where this attack was going to take place. Amazing how our generals picked the farthest spot away from our supply hubs to make this operation as difficult as possible. By the way, I appreciate all the new and unique MIO companies they added to Russia in this update, since I feel like it's a really underrated mechanic, but we gotta talk about some of these balanced choices. I know this is a single player mod, but there's some egregious stuff here. This gun company has speed upgrades for your infantry equipment, and you can make regular infantry go 6 kilometers per hour. Russia doesn't even need motorized divisions, we run just as fast as the trucks do. When the border conflict starts against Finland, it's not pretty, for reasons that were completely under our control. Yeah, so we may have gotten destroyed out here, but at least we learned about this cool new submachine gun. Despite my tank volunteers' best efforts, I couldn't hold back the onslaught of CSA divisions coming for the AUS. I tried to retake Tennessee for them, and I had to cancel it because there's a naval invasion in Georgia. The AUS's front lines pretty much collapsed after that. The only thing I could do in Georgia was run away once the CSA invaded Florida as well and started pushing north. It was looking tough for Huey Long, but Alabama is no place to die. Savinkov is a very religious man, and he has a revelation. He started as a nobody, but now he sits at the top of the Kremlin. His rise to power came just when most of Europe is being ruled over by materialist communism or capitalism that seeks to destroy the human spirit. So clearly, God had given him a mission to save their souls from enslavement, but not just in Europe. He needed to save everyone from this evil and start a worldwide spiritual revolution to end the root of all evil.
What's going on with you? What are you talking about? You sound insane.
I did a quick expedition into Afghanistan. It didn't start off too great since the AI just used the epic force attack, but once that expired, I was walking into Kabul. I could also use my built-up power projection to cause problems in all the eastern nations in the Reichspakt to make my invasion easier. Canada finally decides to intervene in the American Civil War, but I'm feeling like it might be too late at this point. Shout out to Canada on showing up when the party is over. I'm pretty sure the Pacific States really appreciate it. I upgraded the tank division a bit, and now it's time to really help Iran beat the Ottomans. For the tank volunteers, this is going to be a great training exercise since the Ottomans have no AT whatsoever. Once I took Basra, I started racing up the Tigris River and surrounded any unlucky Turkish troops on the way. The offensive went better than I could imagine because not only did I manage to surround Baghdad, but I also caught a good German tank division in it. And this encirclement couldn't have been more perfectly timed because right after I killed the tank division and took the city, the Second Weltkrieg started. Damn, Germany lost Belgium and the Netherlands. This war is gonna be over quick. I guess that is my cue to get my slice of Europe though. You know my tanks in Iraq scare the Ottomans when they're immediately begging for a non-aggression pact, but I'm good, man. When the war starts, it's looking great for me. Finland instantly shatters to my Cossack divisions. It's amazing what an army is capable of when they're actually supplied. My divisions are so fast I can run laps around the Ukrainians, and as for Finland, they're basically a speed bump. Within 2 weeks, I was past Helsinki, so they figured out pretty fast that they had no chance against Russia. Despite this amazing success, some soldiers in the Far East still thought they had a chance to take Savinkov down. This happened in the West too, with Germany backing an army of Free Russia to take us down.
I will grant it to you. Vengeance. And afterward this cell.
You must be truly desperate to come to me for help.
The Belgrade Pact was definitely struggling against Austria, but fortunately I could take them under my wing to send reinforcements. Seeing where the winds were blowing, some smart people in Lithuania took over the government to switch sides and join the Moscow Accord. It didn't change anything really, just makes an easy war even easier for me. Although sucking up to the Cossacks is a great move as Russia because you get so many free and good units. With these dozen divisions, I know Sternberg can turn the Far Eastern Front from a stalemate to a Savinkov sweep. I almost forgot that High Command has me on a time limit to reach key objectives. However, it's nothing to sweat about since I'm not even that far from the city. My tanks break through Cherkasy while the Cossacks flank around to attack Kiev from the west. Once the two groups began their attack on the city itself, the defenders were so disorganized they were pushed out of the city within days. My first mission was accomplished, and I get to keep my attack bonus and get the next objective to take Minsk next. But before I do that, I need to finish collapsing the Ukrainian front. With that done, I needed to focus on killing Belarus, which started with thinning out the army here by killing the remnants of the Reichspakt in Ukraine. It was not easy pushing through all these marshlands, but the Russian army got it done. Everywhere we were pushing, we were winning. All of our enemies are just collapsing in front of us. Although I was a bit disappointed to see how fast the Third International was pushing through the west, which meant I had to pick up the pace and take Minsk already. Savinkov gets a petition to start a nuclear program out of fear that everyone else was doing one too. But it's funny how they cite Germany as a threat when they look like this. Still, I get a free nuclear research facility. At this point, we're just running forward to capture as much land as we can for the peace deal. There's no organized force fighting us anymore. When the Reichspakt fully collapses, I get 86% of the war score in the first peace deal, which allows me to not only grab all my rightful land, I even get to bully the British out of Denmark so I control it. Who cares if a Russian soldier never set foot in the country? It's mine now. We finished off the traitors in the Far East and gave them a proper Russian trial. When it came to dividing up Germany itself, the AI put up quite the fight, but I did manage to carve out a good amount of East Germany for myself. So now we have our victory day, January 11th, 1941, which does feel a bit premature considering we're still fighting Hungary, but it only lasts for 3 more days. We divided the Danube Federation pretty well. At least in Kaiserreich you can create some pretty nice looking borders. Forgot Kaiserreich added its own custom achievements, that's pretty cool. Now that that war is over, we got a lot of resistance movements in Ukraine, but come on guys, you lost. Be serious. I assigned a general to manage the resistance in Ukraine, and I won't lie, I didn't really think much about it until I got news that Ukrainians jumped my general. Looks like things got a bit out of hand here. I tried to be nice, but they're forcing me to be the bad guy now. People give him the option of giving the Ukrainians some autonomy, and he threw that folder straight in the trash. The only way forward for him is to make Ukraine a part of Russia. But if this is how we're treating Ukraine and Belarus, I don't get why I have to release Poland. They were independent for just as long. I'm keeping Russia at peace while I integrate those lands, but there's still stuff around the world for me to do. Japan has done horribly in their invasion of China. They didn't even take Beijing, so I figure I should make it worse for them by sending the Chinese tank volunteers and planes. I'm also expanding my influence in the Middle East. Thanks to my support of Iran, I'm able to get them into my faction, along with the other Ottoman breakaway states. While Japan is a nice side quest for Savinkov's regime, we gotta get the country ready for a fight with our actual enemy, the godless Sindhis in Western Europe. The Kaiserreich is gone, for good now. To prepare the country, we have to purge more people in the focus tree. I don't even get why we're icing these people, I guess cause it's Russia. In a few months, the Russian tanks turned the Second Sino-Japanese War from a stalemate to a Japanese rout. I'd say I'm liberating Korea now, but considering it's going to the Chinese, it's more like under new management. By 1942, the Japanese presence in northern China and Korea was destroyed. All they had left were some small beachheads in southern China. The nuclear program is progressing pretty well in 1942, mainly because I get a lot of decisions to speed up the project. I can steal some research from Berlin and get some more uranium extraction going, but I can't help but notice that I can't infiltrate the Damocles project because it doesn't even exist. All that fear-mongering earlier about somehow the Sindhis getting the bomb before us, only for them to not have even thought about it. I guess my physicist really just wanted to nuke someone, huh? Since India is trapped under communist oppression, I prepared the logistics for an invasion of the country. And while that is happening, I have to put down the Ottomans for good. They don't even have the pride to call themselves an empire anymore. This is a mercy kill. This final KD though, do we even need nukes when our army is this good? After that peace deal, I can safely say that the Turks got done a lot worse than the Germans did. There's gonna be so much ethnic conflict here. With my logistics in Iran and Afghanistan set up, I declare war on India. But you see, I did not look closely at their diplomacy to see that they were in the Third Internationale. Surprise! The Third Weltkrieg started a lot earlier than I planned for. At least the Third Internationale was just as surprised as I was because there were no troops in Germany or Austria, allowing me to get some good initial gains. In Asia, my tanks blasted through the Indian border guards on the mountains in Pakistan. Since the Entente was still at war with the Third Internationale, I could rally them under my leadership, which they desperately needed at this point because I'm pretty sure it was just Canada and the West Indies left. I also get the Entente economic bonuses too, so my overpowered industry gets boosted even more. While things are going fine in India, it could be going better in Europe. The Third Internationale did a big invasion into Denmark, and I can't fight back because supply is bad and they have air supremacy. I have been running the better AI mod while I've been playing this, and I have to say, I am definitely noticing the improvements. Like, the AI's Air Force is actually blasting me out of the sky. It's refreshing to see the AI build decent planes. I'm finally worrying about the air war for once. As you know, India is a big country with many Indians, so 24 tank divisions wasn't cutting it for the invasion. I had to reinforce them with a mechanized army. The Indians stupidly attempted a counteroffensive against me when they arrived, so they exhausted themselves, and I pushed back, quickly taking Delhi. After that, my tanks spearheaded to the Nepalese border and cut off a huge chunk of Indian divisions near Kashmir. They lost so many divisions there, they couldn't stop me from driving around the rest of the country. As I rolled over the remnants of the Indian army in the south, we finally finished our first atomic bomb. I completely forgot to make strap bombers for them though, so all I have to drop the nuke is these interwar bombers that you start the game with. I'm surprised these old and slow bombers even qualify to drop an atomic bomb, because I feel like if I did send them out on that mission, it would be a one-way trip. Once India was finished off, all those mechanized and tank divisions were free to come west into Germany. Although there would be no air support for them, the veterancy they gained from fighting India would hopefully be enough to break through the communist lines. Once I started the attack, man, I overestimated the Sindhi armies. They disintegrated so fast, I was disappointed. Less than 2 weeks and we're already passing the Rhine. What are the people at home gonna think? We've been hyping these guys up as the final boss for years. By the time I get to France, there's barely an army left to stand against me. 2 months ago, I was thinking I would nuke Paris first, but the offensive went so well that plan's out the window. By the end of the year, the Commune of France is ready to tap out. So finally, Spain and Portugal are liberated from syndicalist tyranny. The next few weeks is just cleanup. The Italians don't have the strength to hold their country by themselves, and the British are desperately trying to hold on to any foothold they can on the continent with no success. Since the Union of Britain stands alone and continues to fight on, they will make a great first target of my nuke. These odds really aren't that good for a nuclear strike, but screw it. Well, I guess I was right about it being a one-way trip. Time to kill the British the old-fashioned way. Bruh, 1,000 breakthrough on a tank division naval invading? These guys didn't stand a chance. They lost so many troops in Europe, there was barely anybody left to defend Britain itself. And with their capitulation, peace in Europe is secured. We can almost establish paradise, but there is still one more loose end I want to deal with. Good thing I got control of Mexico from the war with the Third International. Gonna make America have to deal with a two-front invasion. I have 78 mechanized and armored divisions for this special military operation to decommify America. Fortunately, the AI still has no idea how to fight high-hardness divisions, so it takes a few months, but once Russian troops are driving into Washington, D.C., the war is over. It's done. Savinkov has not just saved Russia, he has saved the world. But there you go. That's some of the new Russia content for y'all in Kaiserreich. As you can see, it's pretty straightforward, and there's more I can do here, so let me know in the comments or like the video if you want to see me play a different path. I'm definitely curious about the Far East and Free Russia Revolt content. I'll definitely get a video out on that in January if this video hits 10,000 likes. Also, don't forget to subscribe because I really want to be at 100k by Christmas or at the end of the year latest, so you'll get your mega campaign. Thank you to my alumni supporting me on Patreon. Any support y'all can get me there helps, so I can prioritize making these quality vids for you. Anyway, you will get one more video out to close out the year, so I hope to see you again for that. Bye bye!